All right, that should be coming up now. Okay, well, glad you could all join us. My name is David Pallmann. I am the General Manager of Custom App Development at Neudesic, and you can reach us at neudesic.com or follow us on Twitter at Neudesic. My blog is davidpallmann.com, and I'm on Twitter also as @davidpallmann. In this series, this is part 5 of a 5-part series, we've been talking about all the new features of Windows Azure that have come out, especially the June release, where Windows Azure really broadened quite a bit. And Microsoft really, if you compare Windows Azure today to 4 years ago when it debuted, we have really 3 lanes of cloud use now. 2 of them came out in June that's new. One is called Windows Azure Websites, and one is called Infrastructure as a Service Virtual Machines. We spent most of our time in the past parts of the series talking about what's new, the new HTML5-based portal, the new Windows Azure websites, the virtual machines, both for Windows and for Linux. Now it's time to talk about one more area, and that's called cloud services. Now, cloud services is actually just a new name for platform as a service, or in other words, the original way that Windows Azure was designed. And in one sense, if you've been playing with Windows Azure for any amount of time, you might know all this stuff, but we don't want to overlook the fact that this is still here and is important. And in fact, Microsoft has added some new services and enhanced quite a few of the existing ones. So it's definitely important to hear about this also. Also, there have been some name changes, and we want to make sure people aren't confused by, so we're going to make that clear too. First off, we have portal integration. So the new HTML5-based Windows Azure portal is fantastic. You can use it not only on your desktop browser, but from tablets such as an iPad or a Windows 8 Surface device. It's a greatly improved experience. And like the other areas of Windows Azure, you get a dashboard with built-in monitoring now automatically with your cloud services. So when we say cloud services, we kind of mean that in 2 ways. When we talk about that, contrasting it against virtual machines or Windows Azure websites, we're kind of talking about those 3 ways of hosting. So the first thing that comes to people's minds when we say cloud services is the Windows Azure Compute Service, which again has been around since the beginning. And the model for that has not changed, so it used to be called the service model. The solution consists of one or more roles, and a role is really a VM farm. It contains one or more virtual machines that we call instances. And if your role or farm or tier needs to talk to the outside world, let's say it's a website, then you can create endpoints that are load balanced. As in the past, the virtual machines for these instances are not persistent, and that means if you update, say, files on your VM, VMs can be recycled from time to time, so they can be lost. And so it's very important that for persistence of data that you can rely on, that you use a cloud service such as Windows Azure Storage or the SQL database. The storage service in Windows Azure has had some changes. Earlier in the year, we saw a price reduction. It used to be 15 cents a gigabyte per month. Now it's down to 12.5 cents. And actually, it'll be less than that if you reach certain sizes. So there's a tiered set of improvements over that price, even based on how much overall size you have. And then there had always been a very minor fee of 1 cent per 10,000 transactions in storage, where transaction means checking storage to read something, to write something, to check on the existence of something. That's been changed for still 1 cent, but now it's per 100,000 transactions. So that also is a nice improvement. Microsoft is also in the middle of making some major upgrades between now and the end of the year on improving the speed of storage accounts. And so that includes going to new SSD devices and changing infrastructure. And all you'll notice is that things get faster. Along with that is a new version of the .NET Storage Client library. Now, you can talk to storage like most of the Windows Azure services over REST HTTP, but there is a nice, if you're a .NET person, there is a nice library called Storage Client, and the new version of that, 2.0, has recently been released. So I want to check into that. A feature that we've had around for a long time is called shared access signatures, and all that's the fancy term for special URLs for blob storage. As you may know, blobs are kind of like files, and if you choose to, you can expose them as internet URLs, which is great for things like images and such to use in web pages and things like that. Well, now you can also get shared access signatures, that same feature for queues and tables as well. Another feature is geo-replication. So if you're not aware, Windows Azure Storage has triple redundancy. That means when you store something, it's stored in 3 different places in the data center, spread out across what we call fault domains. Well, the 8 Windows Azure data centers are kind of grouped in pairs, and they actually also geo-replicate with the sister data center. So East and West U.S. or Virginia and California are a pair. North and South Central U.S. or Chicago area and Texas are a pair. Amsterdam and Dublin in Europe are a pair. And Hong Kong and Singapore in Asia are a pair. In each case, your storage account is not only triply redundantly stored in the data center that you've chosen, but it is replicated over to the other data center, and you're going to be catastrophe. It will fail over automatically. But you can now, that's been around for a while too, but you can now control that. You can turn it on or off. So you may have performance reasons or there's a slight difference in cost if you choose to have that feature on and off or not. And then a lot of people who use storage account is perhaps the most used service in Windows Azure, I would say, and it is often very interesting to people. Well, what storage am I using most and what's not being used? Because if something isn't being used, you can delete it and save some money on your cost. You now have storage account monitoring and analytics as a built-in feature. And the way that works, you can go into the portal and you can turn it on at you can turn it off, you can turn it on at a minor level, or you can turn it on at a detailed verbose level, and you'll get tracking, and you'll be able to see how your blog table and queue is being accessed, and that'll really paint a picture for you of what's happening behind the scenes in terms of traffic. Databases. So we've always had the SQL Azure database, kissing cousin to SQL Server in the cloud. That's had a name change. Its official name now is Windows Azure SQL Database. You'll still hear people refer to it as SQL Azure a lot. That name is pretty well embedded. So it'll probably take a while for people to get the hang of it. But if we hear about Windows Azure SQL Database or the initial WASD, it's the same thing. But we also have another database now, MySQL. So MySQL is now supported in Windows Azure, and that is actually provided by a partner of Microsoft ClearDB. And as far as directly seeing that in the portal, that's only in the Windows Azure website area, something we covered in an earlier installment of this series. But you can actually use the MySQL with any part of Windows Azure, including cloud services. And all you have to do for that is go over to cleardb.com and sign up for a plan. A new service we have, which is in preview, is called Media Services, and this is all about video, for the most part, video and audio and such. And you can upload media, you can transcode media into different formats or for different sizes, devices. You can have that delivered on demand or streamed out. You can integrate it with various content delivery networks. It has a REST API, but also has a .NET SDK, and it can even handle workflow scenarios. So something to check out. If video is important to you, you know, there's a difference between a very small video, which you can just sort of have a reference to, that downloads and plays, versus a longer video where you really do need proper streaming in order to make that all work. So if that's your world, you want to check out Media Services. A new service that perhaps is getting the most attention and was a big hit at the recent Microsoft Build conference is Windows Azure Mobile Services. And basically, this gives you an instant backend in the cloud for your mobile app. It currently supports clients, Windows 8 applications of clients, iOS, meaning iPad or iPhone, and Windows Phone 8, with more platforms coming. And if you haven't watched the videos from Build, which are available at buildwindows.com, you want to go and watch the Day 2 keynote, where you can see Josh Twist, Microsoft, walking you through an extremely impressive demo of mobile services. I also have an introduction on my blog that you can check out. But you could build your own backend, of course, but frequently for a mobile app where a developer wants to focus on their mobile app, they're often interested in cloud, but they don't want to take the time to learn cloud. So although you could do this yourself with these other cloud services, it's kind of nice to click a button and have a service created for you that handles database storage, authentication, you can do push notifications, and a place where you can have server-side logic. Literally in under a minute. It's quite well done. It's been quite a focus on usability, so I invite you to check it out. And then in addition with all of these new and upgraded services and the fact that using the new portal, we have a feature called Link Resources. And what's nice about this, the idea here is, well, a typical cloud solution is probably going to use more than one cloud service, right? If you're going to host in the cloud, you use a compute service, but you're almost certainly going to also use storage and/or database and probably a few other services. And so what Link Resources does is let you inform the portal that your hosted service perhaps also has a database or uses some other part of Azure. And what that does for you in the portal view, here you can see that my hosted service is also showing how the database is doing, because the database has been linked in as a resource and are treated as a unit. So that's a nice feature. It helps you keep track of your solution, especially if you were ever to delete a solution. You want to make sure you get rid of all the component parts that you're being charged for. There are a few other services we'll just mention briefly. Caching. We've had the caching service for some time now. Originally, Microsoft implemented that as a Microsoft-managed distributed network tier that you could access, but you didn't have to worry about the management. You can still use it that way, but you have also now the option of hosting the cache right within your web roles or worker roles. And so that's interesting. It doesn't cost you money that way. Virtual networking, we've had a feature for a while called Windows Azure Connect, which would let you connect your cloud roles to on-premise, a machine at a time, but there were some restrictions. It had to be, the machines you would list on-premise to the virtual network had to be Windows machines. You had to install an agent on them. The virtual networking now is quite a bit grown up. So if your enterprise has a VPN appliance, a common one, it knows how to talk to that, and the whole section of your network can be joined to the cloud. And it's just a little more grown up, and they don't necessarily have to be Windows machines anymore. The service bus for a while now has had not only the fast relay messaging, which is fast with best effort, but also for some time now we've seen it in preview, brokered messaging, tunneling, sophisticated types of queues, and publish-subscribe scenarios. That continues to be innovated. There are also some new features in preview for other types of EAI integration, so I invite you to check it out. It's becoming a very growing, important pillar of the Windows Azure platform. We still have the access control service, nothing like it out there for identity federation. Allows you to decouple the way you handle security from your application and lets you easily support multiple security schemes. Traffic Manager is still there. That allows you to have multiple deployments, perhaps in different data centers around the world, and direct one.com to the appropriate place based on locale or other types of logic. SQL database, we have the federation service for uniting databases into a federated set. We have SQL database sync service still. And then we still have the content delivery network, which is a worldwide network of edge cache servers for distributing blobs storage typically a very efficient way based on locale. So as you can see, cloud services is still there. It's still important, and it continues to receive regular improvements. Some Neudesic examples you can check out that are built on top of Platform as a Service cloud services. One is responsive tours, responsive-tours.com. When you go there on your desktop or tablet or phone, it's going to first ask you how you want to sign in, and because it uses the access control service, it will give you a choice to sign in through a Live ID or Yahoo or Google Identity. You can see it has a Bing Maps integration. And it'll tell you on the bottom left which of 3 data centers you were randomly sent to. It could be in Asia, in Europe, or in the United States. It also uses CDN, blob storage, and database storage. On the right, outside the box pizza.com, another demo of ours from Neudesic built on cloud services, and it uses H205 hosted in Windows Azure Compute. It uses SQL database. It also uses the service bus. What we're simulating here on the right is a national pizza chain with 1,000 stores across the country. And when you place an order based on the zip code of the order, it routes to the appropriate store. That's all done using service bus, publish, subscribe, topics, and filters. And so check them out, and I think you'll like what you see there. So now that we have these multiple lanes in the cloud, let's talk about when you should use PaaS or not. What are the strengths of cloud services or platform as a service? Well, first of all, it's managed for you, including patching. That's a big deal. And not all businesses do IT well or really want to be in the business of IT. They rather focus on their core business. So if that's for you, platform as a service should be pretty inviting. Cloud services are also very easy to scale. You can scale them manually to the portal, but you can also automate that through PowerShell scripts. There's an API, the Service Management API. The System Center product can do it. And it's not up here, but there's a code block available from the Microsoft Patterns and Practices group called the Windows Azure Scaling Application Block, or WASABI for short, that you take out of the box, configure very quickly, and will auto-scale based on your parameters. So another strength is that we have some highly capable services in the platform. And some of these don't have on-premises equivalents. So some of these capabilities like Identity Federation or Service Bus may be very, very enticing to you. I like to think about it this way. We have 3 lanes of hosting in the cloud now, and we can kind of make a magic triangle out of it. At the top there we have Windows Azure websites. That's really easy to use. It's fast, but it's only for one type of solution, two-tier website. It's a website with a simple database, basically, that can run on default IIS configuration. So that is nice that it's managed for you and that it's also portable, meaning you don't have to change it to be in the cloud as you would from on-premise. But it doesn't have versatility. It only supports one type of solution, which is a website. At the bottom left, we have cloud services, what we talked about today, platform as a service. What's nice about that is it's managed for you, and it's very versatile, supports many different types of solutions. However, it may sacrifice portability. Not always, but sometimes you have to make changes to your solutions for it to work in the cloud, and sometimes people outright design for the cloud. Portability isn't always there. At the bottom right, we have virtual machines or infrastructure as a service. That also supports a very versatile set of different types of solutions. It gives you portability. You don't really have to, no developer required really to move between cloud and virtual machines. However, you do have to manage it yourself. So those are kind of your choices there. So that's really all we had to present. Thank you for attending the webcast. And if you sat through the whole series, I and my colleague Mike Collier have given. Really appreciate your being with us. Now we have some time for a few questions if there are any.
Thank you, Dave, for the awesome presentation. We did have a few questions come through. To ask a question, please click on the Q&A verbiage located in the toolbar on the top left side of your screen. Type the question and click the Ask button. So first question came through, can I combine PaaS and IaaS and use them together?
Can you combine platform as a service and infrastructure service together? Technically, the answer is yes, but you should also ask yourself if that's wise or not. And what I mean by that is, here's an example. I could have a platform as a service website that I put up in Windows Azure Compute, but I might decide to put my database on virtual machines for some reason instead of using the SQL database service. No problem with that technically. But remember that magic triangle I showed earlier. If you really valued automated management, then you probably wouldn't combine the two. You'd probably stick with platform as a service. If you really valued portability, then you probably would stick with infrastructure as a service and you wouldn't use the platform as a service. So it depends on what's important to you. But technically, yes, there's no problem at all combining them.
Next question, now that I have the options to run SQL Server on virtual machines, When should I use SQL Azure database instead?
Okay, good question. When should I use the SQL Azure database versus, gee, now I can actually run SQL Server myself? Well, it comes down to a couple things. So just in case you're not clear on this, SQL Azure is very close to SQL Server. It has the same programming model, meaning you work with a connection string. You can use things like ADO.NET and link on it, SQL Server Management Studio. It's a very similar experience, but it does have a few limits. Of the thousands of features that are in SQL Server, the vast majority of them are also in SQL Azure. But there is a short list of features that aren't in SQL Azure yet. That includes transparent data encryption, full text search indexing, XML indexing, a few things like cross-database transactions. So those may or may not be showstoppers for you depending on what features you use. There is also a size limit in SQL Azure of 150 gigabytes per database. You do, however, have the SQL Database Federation service where you can federate multiple databases into a working set. So I would look at whether or not those limitations in SQL Azure are acceptable to you or not. For the majority of folks, they seem to be not a problem. And whether you want to manage things yourself. If you're going to set up SQL Server on virtual machines, you're going to be setting up, you're going to be installing SQL and setting it up. And if you have a cluster, you're going to need to be setting up multiple machines and connecting them. All of that manages maintenance and patching and updating and licensing are all things you need to worry about. With SQL Azure, you use it the same way, same programming model, but there are no machines to set up or anything. Microsoft takes care of that behind the scenes. Use your primary two replicants, automatic failover, doing a lot of things on your behalf automatically. So you should really decide which world you want to be in, platform as a service or infrastructure as a service. Microsoft offers both, so it's both well now, and those should help you make a decision.
Great. If anybody has any more questions, please feel free to type them at this time. In the meantime, I'm going to click through a few polling questions, and it would be greatly appreciated for your feedback. So our first question is, was this content helpful for your business? Next question, please rate the presentation content. Would you like us to schedule a follow-up? How did you hear about this webcast? We will be forwarding you the link to the recording of this webcast once it becomes available. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webcast. You are now free to disconnect. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Until next time.